What up, podcast squad cast? Jack Mehoff coming in here with your second update video of the week. First one, if you didn't see it, Tyler had a Prop It Like It's Hot video a few days ago leading into the weekend. You should definitely go check it out. It's only a couple of minutes, and I thought it was pretty interesting. We'll be trying to continue to bring you more videos like this, just with our path to more of a consistent content update week to week going on. So just some chances to touch on different things and talk football whenever possible. For myself this week, I know last week I brought you the Thursday night kind of preview along with the NFL kickoff going on. But moving forward, we're going to be moving over to Monday nights. That's my TV broadcasting deal is going to be Mondays, posting sometime during the day leading up to our Monday night football games. So we're going to be doing some Mondays with Mehoff moving forward. It'll be a little bit of previewing the Monday night football game, wrapping up the week, and then just trying to make your Mondays suck a little bit less if you're bored during work or need something to listen to on the way home, or you're just itching until that Monday game kicks off. So this week, we got a little bit of a bonus. We have 2 games on our Monday night, so they're going to overlap a little bit. Good luck watching both of them. I hope you're not having to rely on players in both games for your fantasy matchups, because it'll be a stressful night, but it'll be great for us football viewers. So first off, the earlier game, we have the Titans in Buffalo, where the Bills are favored by 10 total points. A little bit of an insult to the number 1 seed from last year. I personally don't think so. I think Buffalo's going to cover that 10 points, even though it's a lot to give. Tennessee's just not, looking the same. It's only been 1 week, but they are down a few people being injured. Obviously, A.J. Brown is gone, and their offense is just struggling outside of Derrick Henry being King Henry, what he is. Buffalo looked great last week. I don't know that I think they're going to be as explosive and look as amazing this week as they did before, but I also don't think they're going to need to. I mean, the Titans aren't going to necessarily be a threat this year. Don't be surprised if this ends up being a lower scoring, kind of boring game, quote unquote. Tennessee was one of the slowest paces of play teams last year, and I'm expecting Buffalo to be up fairly early, where they can probably just coast on their lead and kind of take their time, not having to try to rush and score points where they need to. From a fantasy and just NFL stats perspective, I'm not loving the matchup for Derrick Henry this week. I think the game script is going to be a big play where it's going to come into play a lot, where if Buffalo's up early, like I'm guessing, it doesn't bode well for a guy that really doesn't catch passes and only runs the ball. Granted, yes, the Titans really don't have a lot of other options, so I still expect him to get work and not get phased out, but this isn't a game coming in where I think Derrick Henry is just going to smash unless he happens to break, one of those 50, 60, 70 yards runs where he's just stiff-arming and throwing people across the field. Pretty much from a fantasy side, everybody else on Tennessee is a sit for me. I don't really care who else you have. You just can't really play any of their receivers. You're not going to play Tannehill. Austin Hooper didn't show you anything week 1 that's worth playing, so hopefully you've either pivoted to other options so far since we're going to the last week, or you have something else to do between the 4 teams tonight. Derrick Henry, still, like I said, he's still Derrick Henry. He's probably a low-end RB1 for me. I don't expect him going over 100 yards total tonight. I think Buffalo will be able to hold him, even though they didn't hold him to 100 or less last time they played, which was last season. So I would expect under 100 yards. You're hoping for a touchdown, which is pretty easy. I think if they get in close, they're going to have to give it to him because, again, you're not trusting these receivers and Tannehill to seal the deal when you got Derrick Henry. That being said, I think with this kind of being like a game script plan heading towards some garbage time late, don't be surprised if Treylon Burks kind of has his first chance to make a big impact moment tonight. Probably going to be a little bit larger target share, especially with Kyle Phillips being questionable coming into the game. I don't know that he's expected to play. Last week, Burke only played 32% of snaps, but he did have 5 targets on that. Not, game-breaking or anything, but better than what people were expecting from the preseason. So I could see this being the game where it's like, you know what, we're down. Why don't we use our young rookies and just, get him some run out on the field, see what he can do. It's not like you're going to be having him go, streak routes and just taking the top off the defense every play, but he might get some decent volume here. So this might be a game where after this week, you're looking at him and being like, oh, maybe he's kind of an option going forward. So if you got a spot where you can drop somebody that hasn't played yet and you can pick him up on the waivers just to see what he does tonight, that might be kind of a sneaky play there. On the Buffalo side of the ball, and there's not a ton to talk about, obviously you're starting Diggs, you're starting Josh Allen. They should both be great. But I think I'm looking more from the NFL side that this could be an interesting game for Devin Singletary. I'm assuming he's the one that gets the main work again. Like I said, I expect them to be up on Tennessee early, and Tennessee's rushing defense isn't amazing by any means. So I think while they'll still have to worry about Diggs and company in the passing attack, I could see the running game getting a little bit more room here against less stacked boxes and just kind of being able to chip away. So might be a decent game here. Again, I also don't think I'll be surprised if Diggs and company do have like one or two big game-breaking catches tonight. Last week, each of the three main receivers got a deep touchdown, so that combined with Tennessee's secondary being pretty inexperienced, they've got three different young corners that are playing. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot to stop the receivers when they do want to go deep. There's reports that Gabe Davis might not be playing tonight. I know he's still questionable, but if he doesn't play, I love Isaiah McKenzie as like either a DFS target if you're doing kind of teams and matchups for just the Monday night games, or if you've got him on your bench and you're looking between him and, maybe you're looking between him and Treylon Burks or him and Robert Woods in Tennessee, or him and Thielen even, I'd consider playing Isaiah McKenzie because I think he'd have a chance to get like one long touchdown bomb, and he'd be a good threat for somebody that's probably sitting on most people's benches as of now. Again, I also think that Dawson Knox might have some looks in the red zone tonight. Obviously, he's not a top 8 tight end even, but I think he could have some chances to get a touchdown maybe, especially with Gabe Davis possibly being out. So that's another guy to watch for. I know he had a rough week 1, but I think he can kind of bounce back this week. Overall, from a football perspective, my prediction is going to be Buffalo 27-17. Like I said, I think this game's going to be over pretty early. I think like starting in the 4th or early in the 4th, we'll be able to say, yeah, this one's done. And those of us that aren't already watching the second game will probably feel good about tuning over at that point. Like I said, Buffalo's not going to look as dominant compared to the Rams, but they're not going to need to be. Tennessee's going to drop to 0-2 after being last year's number 1 seed, and now people are going to question if they're even going to make the playoffs without A.J. Brown and some of the other moves they made this offseason. For the second game on the docket tonight, moving into that, we have the hometown Vikings going on the road after making the Packers look pretty rough week 1. They're now going to be facing the fellow 1-0 Eagles. This game scares me a bit. I had this circled on my preseason, kind of looking at the Vikings schedule as probably our biggest speed bump before our week 7 bye. I do think the Vikings are probably the better team on paper, but Philadelphia is very, very tough to play in when you're the visiting team, and I don't think that the Vikings' strengths match up well against the Eagles on paper. I think like the things that they do well is going to make it tough for us. Like we're better at, like look how we did with Rodgers. We're better at rushing the quarterback, a pocket guy, putting pressure on him and trying to get the sacks now that we have like Hunter and Co healthy again, but not saying that Hurts is obviously in the level of Rodgers, but he's a lot more mobile, and I'm thinking his rushing is going to be an issue all night, whether it's some like broken plays that he just tucks the ball and runs, or some designed ones where like we struggle with containing sometimes. So I'm a little nervous about that. I also could see some of the running backs making plays out of the backfield. All 3 of them are pretty good in short yardage passing situations, and with that kind of double-headed monster of Hurts and a running back, I could see one of them kind of getting left while we key in on Hurts and having them hurt us as well. One key matchup I'm interested in with our defense versus their offense is Eric Kendricks in the middle versus Dallas Goedert kind of going across the middle. I think that'll be interesting. I like Kendricks definitely on that side, but I think if he can shut him down and take him away, that'll be a big help to our defense. But that's probably the number 2 option because I'm really, really concerned about A.J. Brown hurting us. I don't think anybody in our secondary can really hold up to the physicality of him, and I think if they want to get him the ball, they're going to get him the ball. So we got to find a way to shut him down. I'm expecting the Vikings to do kind of like a shadow safety over the top to help whatever corner is lined up against him for some extra help. But A.J. Brown's going to have a big play or two that's, it's going to come on a 3rd down where we need to stop and they get the first, or it's going to be a red zone where he just outmuscles them and takes the touchdown. So my big key focus for us is whether our pass rush can get to Hurts and pressure him, because I think if he has time, he's either going to get it to A.J. Brown, who can't be stopped, or he's going to hurt us with his legs. So that's kind of my key to the game, so to speak. I am watching, from a fantasy perspective, who gets most of the work as far as the Eagles' backfield tonight. I know Miles Sanders looked better than most people expected last week and was the main guy, but does he continue to do it again? If he does, I think he's going to be like a flex play / maybe low running back 2 going forward in the season. But if he doesn't, it's just going to be another mess like a lot of teams have where you're just not knowing who to start week to week. On the Vikings side of the ball, wrapping it up quickly, obviously Justin Jefferson was great last week. He had 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. I expect him to come back down to maybe more just slight superhuman numbers, not, crazy otherworldly. I think he'll be more in like that 80, 90 yard range. just because I think we're going to spread the ball around more. Thielen did very, very little last week. I think he'll get a few more looks tonight. I think we can beat the Eagles through the slot. And Irv Smith didn't do much. Obviously, he's still kind of returning back from previous injuries, but I expect both of those guys and maybe even some KJ to get some work in as well. So I think the offense will be a little bit more balanced tonight. I don't think you're going to expect Jefferson to have 150 to 200 yards every single week, but obviously he's still the number one. So Cook, I think, is the one that I'm watching the most. I think he's going to be poised to have a bigger game tonight, and we're going to need to be able to control it on the ground if we want to keep up. I guess if I'm doing a bold prediction, I would say that he's going to be in like the 120 total yard range, just because I think a lot of it can come across like the short dump offs and the screens that he's really good at. So that, plus the fact that the Eagles gave up 6.5 yards per carry against Detroit last week, makes me feel pretty good with Cook. I think they're going to want to get him even more involved than he did last week. So that's kind of another key on offense to victory for us. Overall, I think our defense is stronger than the Eagles, but I think we're going to need to have it come down to like a big play, either a huge sack or a big turnover to hold off their attack. Their offense just scares me. I think it's just very like flexible with a rushing and mobile quarterback like that. Plus, they can get it done through the air. So the fact that this is a road game and the whole, he did better last year in it, but we're always worried about the whole Kirk Cousins narrative with primetime games. Overall, I'm a little bit nervous, and I did pick this looking in the preseason as I think one of our only 2 losses before our week 7 bye. I expected us to go 4-2 heading into the bye. But I think this will be a game where we'll look good, we'll make it close, but I'm going to get it like reluctantly a 27-24 score for the Eagles. Hope KOC and company surprise me, but that's what I'm going to go with tonight, unfortunately, and not try to be too much of a homer, as I know we kind of all tend to be sometimes with our teams. That's all for tonight. I know it ran a little long compared to last week, but hey, you got two games to talk about, so it's going to happen. Give me your thoughts. If you have any bold takes or, spicy predictions for tonight, fantasy or just NFL in general, let us know. Comment below. Don't forget, we're going to be recording our second episode of the season tomorrow night. It'll hopefully be posted late tomorrow night or early Wednesday morning, so you can listen on your way to work or while you're working, doing whatever you're up to. We're going to break down completely, like week 2, all of the top performers and key notes to watch. We're going to update you on our NFL pick'ems and our swimming upstream, which, spoiler alert, was a bit of a struggling upstream for both of us this week. And then we're going to also do our first ever mini draft between myself and Tyler that we're going to start incorporating week to week about just kind of fun topics and stuff. So if you have any submissions you want to do for that, or if you want to send in a question, prediction, bet/challenge, kind of whatever you want to do, we would definitely love it, and we will make sure to talk about it on the show. Otherwise, just check out our next show, and thank you for the support and to continue watching and listening where you can. Thank you, everybody.